Today, we had this great panel. We have a great panel here. I'm now going to take the opportunity to introduce these wonderful people that we have sitting here. We're going to have a little conversation. And first, I want to introduce Jackie Lynn Coleman, who is the Senior Director of the National Community Tax Coalition, as well as Vice President of the National Programs for, the National Programs for Centers for Economic Progress. You are busy. Jackie has spent 5 years working in community banking. She's also been involved with public policy. She has been involved with a number of organizations, even though she looks like she's 16 or 20 or something. She has been involved in a lot of different work, both in Illinois, at the Chicago One Stop Center. She has worked for low-income people most of her life. Could you give her a round of applause, please? And I just am honored. I happened to have dinner with Janie Barrera the first night I came here, and I found out that she, at one time in her life, was a nun, and she'd taken that passion and put it into being the founding president and chief executive officer of ACCIÓN, Texas. She has dedicated her professional life to helping others. She has one of the largest organizations working to build entrepreneurship both in Texas and Louisiana, and my understanding from a lot of different sources, one of the most effectively run organizations in the country. She is the spearhead of our new movement to bring entrepreneurship to every valley, town, and city in this country. Could you give it up for Janie? Now, I'm actually, I've got a microphone here. Do you all have microphones? All right. Is this on? Everybody hear me? All right. So I've been asked to ask a couple of questions. First of all, I just want to get your impressions of the panel. Did it raise any issues for you? Were there things that you think you want to bring out in terms of what did it really mean to you when we talk about entrepreneurship? What does it really mean as a part of this movement of asset building? Either one of you can take that.
Go ahead. So for the National Community Tax Coalition, one, we provide tax preparation services and asset building services for low and moderate income workers. And we have realized over the last few years that there is a missing population out there that we have not really been targeting, and those are the small businesses. And we are really looking forward to launching a significant pilot that will actually bring more folks into the fold, because we want to make sure that our small business owners also receive access to all the tax credits that they're eligible for, because that is a strategy to really help them to build their business, expand, go to scale, and hopefully also just save for themselves as well. So I think that is really a critical component for the work that NCTC as well as CFED does throughout the year.
And as I was hearing Susan give her presentation, I was recalling that 22 million people that are out there that organizations like ours can assist. Because if you think about it, the average credit score of one of our customers is 575. And when she describes the inbox and the outbox, I mean, that's literally what happens, right? When those of us who work as practitioners, they bring the receipts in a shoebox. And then our loan officers have to literally help people go through that shoebox and put them in the inbox and the outbox. And so I think the work that we do as practitioners are trying to level the playing field, the financial playing field, and be able then to provide this access to everyone. Because it's, I used to think that capitalism was a bad thing when I obviously my background. But now I think that's a good thing, that capitalism is the right way to level that playing field and to be able to break that cycle of poverty. So economic development, you know that saying, you give somebody a fish, they eat for a day, teach somebody how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. What I believe in our work that we do is that we help people buy the pond in which they fish and start building assets.
All right. So I think the center of the question here is, how do we ensure that this issue of entrepreneurship and the incentives created around getting people into business, be it microenterprise, small business, et cetera, how do we ensure that it gets incorporated in the center of this movement?
Well, I loved what the senator said, you know, taking that safety net and creating the trampoline into entrepreneurship, I think is just right on target. For instance, even using IDAs and using that for small businesses, for small business development. If you think about it, most people use IDAs for either, you know, for buying a home or for going to getting an education. And very few have incorporated that into the business model in terms of creating small businesses. So what if, you know, why do entrepreneurs come to us and not to the bank for loans? Because they don't have assets. You actually have to have an asset to be able to borrow have an asset on your balance sheet. So what if we were to put these IDAs and start creating a balance sheet and creating that asset on that balance sheet? What if we were, as micro lenders or small business lenders, what if we were to use that as the collateral? Because we've learned over the last 16 years in doing this work, you've got to have skin in the game. And so if you don't have something that you bring to the table, and you're not necessarily going to be able to have that incentive to pay back. So if you know that skin on the table, or that IDA, that savings program is in place, then I believe that we'd be able then to create that safety of capital that we in the microfinance world need, or we as lenders need. So to combine IDAs and to combine business plans, to combine the whole idea of building that asset on that balance sheet, I think would be one way to improve the system.
I totally agree with that. But in addition to that, I feel as though we really need to begin to push the envelope. We heard Susan Mason earlier talk about the Follow Me Home initiative, and knowing that it is really not stalking people, but it's really about really finding out, what does that business owner really need? And are we creating the right products and vehicles that's going to make sure that our businesses are successful in this day and age? Our global market is changing, and how are we going to begin to really make certain that our small businesses can compete with the international world? And right now, we're not keeping up with those times. I think the other thing is that we have to create and build that trust that is really needed out there. And I feel as though the tax preparation programs have an opportunity to really be that conduit as well. They're trusted in the community. But in addition to just preparing taxes, we have to use this as an opportunity as a teachable moment and provide some comprehensive wraparound services for everyone that walks into our sites, and not just the individual taxpayers, but those individuals that are also small businesses. So we know that in Montana, Rural Dynamics is doing some really great work. Campaign for Working Families in Philadelphia has a great record-keeping program for small businesses, as well as the Center for Economic Progress. So as we get more and more of those strategies out there and connected to small businesses, we're going to see our businesses grow and develop and be able to compete in this world.
I just remember Bob talking about some of the pushbacks that he's got in Congress on this issue of fraud and abuse, and the significantly high failure rate of small business. Do you have any response to that? I
do. The idea that how could this be fraud? I think as CDFIs or as MFIs, we are so transparent. And in the idea of the IDA program, it's all on paper, right? We partner with the bank. We create statements every month. It is a way that you have a paper trail that is there. So we've got to counter that idea that it's fraud.
I totally agree, and we actually had a very similar conversation with some of our IRS friends. And small businesses, especially when they begin to claim office use of the home as part of their tax return, it's like a red flag, and they're going to get targeted for audit. But the way that our programs have been able to begin to combat that is really, again, using this teachable moment to make sure that our small businesses have the type of record-keeping strategies that they need to capture the money in and the money out appropriately. And so I think it's those additional tools and resources that we provide and the level of education that we provide that we can begin to combat and tell these stories.
What feedback, I mean, both of you are working on the ground, and so what kind of feedback or helpful learning could you give the audience that are out working in the field around this issue of building a base for entrepreneurship?
We've been at this now 16 years, and so I would say the very first 12 years we were in the laboratory stage, what works and what doesn't work. I believe what we've been doing now is a system that does work. We are now putting out $1.4 million every single month in a loan. So in other words, every 2 hours, we're making a loan somewhere in the state of Texas and Louisiana. And so what we've learned is how to mitigate risk. Remember, it was 575 is the average interest, average FICO score of one of our customers. So what? We also have a 92% repayment rate. So it shows that by putting things in place that are able to be transparent and to help people build up their credit scores so that they can go into the traditional financial institutions, that we can go back to that idea of leveling that financial playing field.
I totally agree, but I also think there's some other tools out there that we may need to think about helping our small businesses connect to. One, we do want to make sure that we're connecting small business to other micro-enterprise networks. We want to make sure that they're connected to small business development centers. We want to be sure that we're connecting them to all of the different resources that Intuit and other companions have available for small businesses. And think about some of the other tools that have come through for personal financial management. There's a new tool out there called Hello Wallet that we've really been promoting and pushing out to really help individuals with their finances. And this could be another tool that really can collapse into the work of small businesses as well. So I just encourage people to really begin to connect the dots. And once we do that and we actually begin to change the behaviors of some of our small businesses, we will begin to see them grow.
Do you see an issue with the pipeline of people wanting to get into entrepreneurship at all? In terms of, I know I was talking to somebody here earlier that said, well, you know, in my community, a lot of people don't even see themselves as entrepreneurs. They see themselves as workers or something. Do you want to say anything about how do you increase the pipeline of people that are interested and want to take the risk?
We have to allow them to, help them realize that they are entrepreneurs. That 22 million that Susan spoke about, saying that, you know, they're working out of their homes. Sometimes they don't believe that they are entrepreneurs. And so for us, we actually look at both sides. We look at their personal income that comes in maybe from other sources in the household and the business as well. So to encourage people to say, I am a sole proprietor and I do own a business.
I totally agree, and we see this in the tax prep field all the time. Many of our groups facilitate services for home-based child care businesses, and they will come in our doors and they'll say, oh, no, I don't have a business, I'm just a babysitter. And so it really is about changing that mindset and getting them to really begin to look at their work as a business and empower them. So again, some of this goes back to the teachable moment when folks are coming in the doors and realizing that this is not a one-touch process, that it is multiple touch points, that we have to bring people together and make sure that they're taking charge and making sure that they're active throughout the process and learning that it is really a business.
Well, I think we're out of time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.